All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Drew Evans, and I am the Superintendent of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. The public in the state of Minnesota expects that when a person is killed in one of our communities, an independent, thorough, and transparent investigation is conducted into that incident to fully understand what occurred when any law enforcement authority is involved in a deadly force encounter. Minnesotans not only expect this, but they deserve this. That's what our BCA Force Investigations Unit does. For years now, our independent unit has investigated the majority of use of deadly force incidents in our state. That's true for entities like the BCA, and it's common practice across the United States. That includes incidents involving federal officers and other high-profile incidents like have occurred in the city of Minneapolis and across our state, not only in recent months, but in recent years. Our highly trained independent team of investigators, crime scene personnel, are experts at conducting these types of investigations. This is all they do. We do not make decisions about guilt or innocent, but we compile the facts of the incident for review by proper prosecutorial authorities, both at the state and federal levels. This morning, I was in contact with the Minneapolis Police Department after the incident that you're all familiar with now, and requested our Force Investigations Unit respond to the scene and conduct such an independent investigation as we have in other recent incidents in the city of Minneapolis. What occurred was our team responded to the scene, and I was in contact with federal authorities to inform them that that was going to occur and that we were responding to the scene in Minneapolis. When our team arrived, they were blocked by federal agents with the Department of Homeland Security from accessing the scene. We worked with them and were in contact with the FBI, trying to attempt to access the scene so we can gather evidence to understand what occurred and work through this process. Our team also secured a search warrant for the scene, which is an unusual move in a public area like that, but we did that attempting to have judicial approval to enter this scene to gather evidence. We were once again blocked by federal authorities to go in and do that scene examination. We have a long history of working side by side with the Federal Bureau of Investigation on all types of cases. That's true in other high-profile incidents that you've seen in officer-involved shootings, and that remains the case that we do and will be going forward. They're excellent partners to us as an organization, but unfortunately, in these recent events, others outside of the state are making decisions that that does not occur. So we will continue to investigate this case and others that we have recently been involved with, but I would be remiss if I didn't state that it will be difficult to obtain all of the evidence and information contained without cooperation. It is my understanding at this time that this case is now being led by the Department of Homeland Security Investigations as an investigation into this matter, and not the FBI leading that at this point in time. As the FBI gathered information and conducted crime scene evaluation, they left. After they left, we were attempting to move in to do our own scene examination once we can access the scene, but federal agents that cleared the scene, as was previously said, the state and local police that were on scene from the beginning of this, providing protection of that scene alongside federal agents trying to allow us to do our work, were unable to hold that scene, and it got overrun with protesters in the area, and we were not able to re-examine that scene. I'm aware, and our team is aware, of the videos that you've seen, and we would welcome additional information provided to our team going forward that will continue a full investigation to the best of our ability with what we have, and we will do that as we always have, fairly independently in that process and transparently as we do in every investigation, and provide that without recommendation to the county attorney's office for review. You know, we're in uncharted territory here. It's been a long-standing understanding, both within our state and across the country, that entities like the BCA that conduct 80+% of officer-involved shooting investigations across the United States are asked to do these investigations of federal agents involved in officer-involved shootings. There certainly can be a new process going forward if the federal government would like to do that and federal agencies, but that has not been a discussion that's been had so that we can provide clear understanding to citizens to understand what that process will be. And so we will continue to investigate this case. We welcome cooperation. I'd continue to ask that we provided access to any information that's necessary to do a complete investigation, and that we want to work together with all of our federal partners so that we can really understand what occurs in any of these cases. An officer-involved shooting is an incredibly complex incident, regardless of the video that you see. And the only way to really truly understand what occurred is to have a full investigation of the matter so that we can really understand what we all see that happens in a very short period of time that is often incredibly complex and requires a very thorough and large investigation to really understand what occurs in those very few moments that we often see. We'll continue to pursue partnerships with our federal partners in these investigations and others going forward, as it's clear to us and it's clear to all of us in Minnesota that we at the state and local level have an expectation when something happens in our communities that an investigation not only is done by our federal partners, but also by state and locals into various incidents as we see them. The Bureau of Criminal Apprehension and our Force Investigations Unit is committed to continuing to work on these sorts of incidents and conduct those independent investigations at the request of our local partners. Whenever that happens, Minnesotans deserve that so that they can fully understand what occurred in each and every one of these incidents, so they can really have an understanding of what occurred each time something happens in our communities. With that, I'd be happy to answer questions.
With Kara Levin. So to be clear, you said you got a signed judicial warrant to gain access and were still denied by federal agents?
Yes, that's accurate. The question was, we had a signed warrant and we were still denied access to the scene. That's accurate, correct.
How uncharted is that? And have you had any contact? You said that you understand DHS is leading it now. Have you had contact since then? And is there any reason to believe that there is now a new way forward?
Yeah, the question was, have I had any contact since it's my understanding DHS is running this investigation? I attempted to contact the individual that I was told was the overall commander at the scene, and I have not received a call back from them. We will continue to work together to gather that and make that contact and understand their process, but we have not had contact yet today.
Wilson with Fox 9, how much investigative to do at the scene then when they did get access?
We were not able to do really any work at the scene once we had access because it was quickly overrun and overtaken. That being said, we have been out talking to witnesses, gathering information, gathering various video, and we'll continue to do that work. You saw in the recent shooting in North Minneapolis, if and when it's prudent and we need to, we can always return at a different time if there's relevant evidence at the scene.
Ernesto with the New York Times. Do you know the identity of the federal agents who were involved in the shooting?
The question is, do we know the identity of the federal agents involved in the shooting? Not only on this case, but the other two that have happened, the federal entity, Department of Homeland Security in particular, does not provide us that information. They have not provided us that information in this case as well.
How will you ensure?
Excuse me, introduce yourself, please.
Yes, Brittany Erman, Channel 5. How will you be able to ensure a thorough and fair investigation if they weren't able to collect evidence the day that this shooting happened?
So the question is, how do we ensure a thorough investigation if we weren't provided access to the information? It's complicated. You know, that's why the long history of jointly working investigations when the federal entities conduct their own investigation is really important. And we have a long established process of doing that, and we'd welcome that now, or we'd welcome parallel investigations where they share information with us. And to be clear, the BCA will share everything we obtain in our investigation with them. To say that we can do this in the manner that our team normally does, which is a very strict and established protocol, that obviously is disrupted. When we don't have access to the crime scene, we don't have the ability to map the scenes that we normally would in that process. So it will be compromised in some level of getting all of that. The hope is that we'll use all the different tools available to take different paths to do the best that we can with the information that we do have.
Caroline Cummings, WCCO. So on the point about the warrant, it sounds like earlier, just to be clear, you said you took that step preemptively knowing that perhaps you might be denied? And then secondly, can you share what agents were told on the scene by DHS as the reason that they were not allowed to access, or that your agents weren't allowed to access the scene?
So the question was about the warrant and then access to the scene. We took the step of getting the search warrant because we were denied access to the scene. So we thought that we'd be able to get access to the scene, much like we would anywhere else, by having an independent judge agree that we have probable cause to investigate the incident at the scene. That was provided the information to the Department of Homeland Security, and they said that this was a scene and matter being investigated by the federal government, and they would not allow us physical access to the scene.
Just to follow up, you arrived at the scene, you were denied, you go to a judge, ask for a warrant, though Judge Grant said warrant, you show up with that, you're still denied.
That's accurate. We were denied after we provided information we had a warrant. Please.
Jeff Day with the Minnesota Star Tribune. I'm not trying to be glib here. Has local law enforcement lost the ability to pursue the rule of law against these federal officers? Or I'm just trying to understand, what does that mean for this Operation Metro Search?
The question was about, is local law enforcement lost the ability for the rule of law? I will tell you that I and other law enforcement leaders continue to have discussions about this. It is important for people to understand just across Minnesota that there are two different, sets of illegal entities in the United States that conduct law enforcement operations: state and local, and federal, and then tribal and territorial. Normally, and under normal circumstances, we work hand in hand in partnership on a variety of different criminal investigations. Each and every day, BCA agents and local law enforcement across Minnesota are conducting violent crime investigations, drug investigations, human trafficking. We work together with the federal government all of the time. This is a situation where we're in a different place for a variety of reasons when it comes to this, and we need to find a path forward. You've heard various people say that we need to look to turn the temperature down. I look to turn the temperature down not only because of a situation that all of us want to be in across the state of Minnesota, to be safe in our homes and communities each and every day, but importantly so that we aren't in a position where there is a standoff between local, state, and federal law enforcement authorities. We have a long history of working together in partnership, and we need to keep in mind that we're all safer, we're all better together when we can do that collectively together.
And then one more after that.
Mary Murphy with Foreign News Service. Are you able to confirm the identity of the man who was fatally shot? And then also, can you confirm the whereabouts of the officers who were involved in?
The questions are, can I confirm the identity? I'm aware of what's being reported. That's who we believe the individual to be, but the medical examiner will be the one to officially identify them, or at least provide us permission to do that. The second part of the question was, do we know the location of the officers involved? And the answer is, I do not know.
Quinn Gorham, Gray Media. Quick question about past situations you guys have dealt with on this. Have you ever had a situation where the FBI has denied access to the scene like this? Under what circumstances have those happened in the past? If so.
So the question was, have I ever had a situation where federal authorities denied access to a scene? Not in my 20 plus years at the BCA and a situation like that. There's certainly investigations for national security and sensitive reasons we wouldn't have a line of sight into, nor would it be our position to ask for access to information in those particular instances. In instances where there's really concurrent federal and state jurisdiction over a matter, I'm not aware of an instance where that's ever happened. So thank you all.
A search warrant before to access the scene?